Hello everyone, it's me. I'm back. It's been quite a while since I saw you last. A lot has happened. But I'm here again. Harry thought it wasn't very good for me to just pace around and try to waste time stuck in here alone. So he thought he'd give me something to do, and he provided me with a list of questions to answer. I'm not sure where he got the questions, who asked the questions. I have no idea. But I figured it would at least kill an hour or two and distract me from other things. So, we'll give it a shot. I might be a little rusty since last time, but we'll see how it goes. How did you feel about the Dursleys raising Harry? Let me tell you, I was none too pleased when I found out. Do you know how often Lily complained about her sister and the horrible man that she married? All the time. So when I learned that they were the ones who had been raising Harry for all these years, I was very, very angry. But, like always, I was reassured by everyone that Dumbledore had a plan and there was a reason for it. I don't know what reason that could be, but they ignored my protest, so Harry remains with them. I'll put it this way. Let's just say, if I ever happen to get to see Vernon Dursley in person, he'll have a lot to answer for, and I'm not afraid to go back to Azkaban. How is your relationship with Remus after Azkaban? Well, to put it simply, it's, complicated. And I suppose that could be expected, given that we hadn't seen each other for 12 years, and he spent a good majority of those 12 years thinking that I was a mass murderer who betrayed all of our friends. Leads to quite awkward conversations in the beginning. We're trying. We really are. I don't know what the future holds in terms of that, but a lot has changed, and I don't know if it's for the better. So I suppose we'll see. What is different from the past that you hate? I mean, a lot is different from the past. Quite a lot. I suppose more than what I hate that has changed, I hate what hasn't changed. We're still here, we're still fighting Voldemort again, we still have the Order of the Phoenix again, we still have teenagers sacrificing their lives to fight the big old baddie again. Nothing is different. It's all the same as it was before. And I suppose it makes everything feel a little useless. You know, when I was in the original Order of the Phoenix, we all thought, oh, this is it. We'll either defeat Voldemort or die trying, and we defeated him. So, seems a little redundant for it to all be happening again. But, you know. What were your thoughts on Bellatrix as a kid? If you're wondering if Bellatrix has always been the way that she's been, you'd be correct. She's always been a little, not all there, even when we were children. When we were young, you know, her idea of having fun was not everybody else's idea of having fun. She was also, significantly older than me, but she still had to, like, play with us, you know, because we were all the kids. And it was quite the miserable experience. She liked to play games that would often involve a lot of getting hurt, falling off of things. You get the idea. So yeah, she's always been a little, you know, not all there. And she's only gotten worse as time has gone on. What is your relationship with Snape like now? Not much has changed. I guess the nature of our relationship has changed. As in, we are technically co-workers. But believe me, there is, no improvement in the relationship between me and Snivellus. And that is not because I haven't changed, but because he hasn't changed. He is still the same little slimy, pathetic, useless little prick that he was at school, even if he doesn't want to admit it. But, given that we are co-workers, I suppose we have to get along a little bit. So our interactions are at the very least civil most of the time. But that doesn't stop me from occasionally partaking in a little reminiscing on the past and reminding him of how completely horrible he is. Also, Harry informed me how Snivellus has been treating him at school, and I'm not very happy about that. So, if Snivellus wants to take out his anger on Harry, then I will not hesitate to take out my anger on him. Has Harry told you about his adventures at Hogwarts? Yes, he has. I wanted to hear everything about what happened while I was in Azkaban, and I made him tell me everything, and I have to say, I am so proud of him for breaking all those school rules, defying all that authority, getting in so much trouble. Ugh. James would be very proud of him, but yes, it was quite thrilling to hear about all the things he's done. I would say his school years might have even been more exciting than mine, which is quite the accomplishment. So, yes, I am very proud of Harry, and I love hearing about all the little trouble he's gotten himself into. Now that you know Peter was the traitor, were there any clues you picked up on after the fact? I've been asked this question actually many times. I think everyone's expecting me to have some answer that, oh yes, now that I knew he was the traitor, suddenly everything's coming to light and suddenly I know exactly, oh there it was, there was the moment, but it's really not. I trusted Pete, I loved Pete, I cared about him, and he was nothing but a loyal, trusting friend, and there were no signs I could really think of that would point to what he would eventually do. So, sorry I can't answer your question properly, but no, there was no warnings, I suppose. Why did you think Remus was the traitor even though you were together? Something you have to understand about that time is that everyone was cautious about everyone. Even your closest friends. Nobody could be trusted if there were traitors left and right, people getting killed, finding secret hideouts, Voldemort was drawing closer. You couldn't trust anybody. So unfortunately, in my panic and my desperation, especially after we found out that Voldemort was coming after Lily and James, I don't know. I don't know where it came from. It was definitely stupid on my part, because Remus would never, but I also thought Peter would never, so I don't know. I guess part of my reasoning, and I'm not saying that this is sound reasoning, in fact it's quite horrible, but I think part of it came from the idea that, well, Remus was a werewolf, and Voldemort was promising better standards of living for werewolves, so maybe that would be the motivation he needed to betray. I don't know. There's no excuse for it, and I hate myself every day for even thinking it. But what happened has happened. So, what did it feel like when you realized Harry had the Marauder's map? I was ecstatic. I was so happy. James would have been so proud that it ended up in Harry's possession. It was almost like fate or something, you know, like it knows where it needs to be and it somehow ended up there, because if anybody deserves it, it was him, and James would have wanted him to have it. So I'm happy he has it, and from what he's told me, he's been using it to get up to all sorts of mischief, which is exactly why we created it in the first place. So I am very, very proud of him that he has had it, and I can't think of anybody better to use it. How did you react when James and Lily asked you to be Harry's godfather? I was, surprised, to say the least, because I never ever expected them to pick me. Remus? I thought for sure. I thought Remus was the obvious choice. But then James came up to me and he was like, Sirius, good news, you're the godfather. And I was like, what? And he was like, you're the godfather. I was not expecting it. I haven't managed to keep a single pet alive my entire life. You know, even Creature, when I was living there, the only reason he was kept alive because he foraged for himself in the kitchens at night. So the idea of putting me in charge of a baby, I don't know. I thought it was a horrible idea. I was like, James, are you sick? Do I need to check your temperature? But he was adamant, and there was nothing I could do. He decided that was what he wanted for whatever reason. And at first I was very reluctant, but when I saw Harry and got to play with him and get closer to him, I really liked it, yeah. I never thought I'd be the godfatherly type, but here I am. And I'm glad he did, so that now I can be here for Harry, even though James cannot be. So yeah. Did you miss all of your friends when you went to Azkaban? I mean, I feel like that answer is fairly obvious. Yes, of course I did. Even Peter. I mean, I guess at that point I missed more the idea of Peter and what I thought Peter was like than actually Peter, but yes, devastatingly, I missed all of my friends. I mean, I had to go there knowing that Lily and James were dead, and Remus thought I was a killer, and Peter was who knows where. So yes, I did miss all of them, and did part of me hope that Remus was going to come visit me when I was in Azkaban so I could explain myself to him? Yes. Did that happen? No. So, but yes, I did miss them all very dearly. What did you do to entertain yourself in Azkaban? Well, there wasn't a lot to do in Azkaban. Very, very little to do in Azkaban. However, a common misconception about Azkaban is that there's always Dementor guards watching the prisoners. This is not true. Occasionally we had human guards when the Dementors had to be sent to do something else. So when we had human guards, my hobby was to talk to them about literally anything. Talking to another person definitely helped me keep somewhat sane during that whole process. But I would talk to them, I would tell them stories, whatever. They wouldn't really listen to me, but just the idea that they were there was enough. So yeah, I guess harassing the guards was my hobby in Azkaban. Least favourite family member? Oh, that's got to be Bellatrix. Oh my. Ugh. Like, yes, was my mother horrible? Yes, was my father horrible? Yes, was every other single member of my family horrible? Yes, all of them. But Bellatrix just somehow takes the cake. She is the pinnacle of everything I hate about pureblood supremacy and the ideals of my family, and she's just batshit. Just frankly, she's batshit. So, yes, she's definitely my least favorite. I can't even describe how much I can't stand her. Another Bellatrix question. Interesting. How was it like being in Azkaban with Bellatrix? Horrible. Absolutely horrible. First of all, she wouldn't shut up. She was always talking or screaming or some other such nonsense. She was so loud all the time. Second of all, when I first went in there, she believed, like everyone else, that I was a mass murderer and I'd killed all these people and I had led to the death of Lily and James, and she was so proud. She had the audacity to be proud of me about this, and I couldn't, it made my skin crawl to think that she would be proud of me for anything. I absolutely hated it. So yes, I did not like it. Luckily, my saving grace was that she was in a cell a pretty decent amount away from me, so I didn't have to deal with it all the time, but yes. It definitely didn't make Azkaban any easier. Sirius, are you still in contact with Regulus? Unfortunately, my brother Regulus died quite a while ago. He was 19. He chose to serve Voldemort, and that led to his death. I never really found out how he died or where. But yes, so no, I'm not in contact with him, unfortunately. How do you feel about Fred and George? Are they worthy successors to the map? Oh, I adore Fred and George. A pair of troublemakers after my own heart. I love everything they do, everything that they're about. Let's just say, if they were at Hogwarts when we were at Hogwarts, the Marauders wouldn't have been the 4 of us, it would have been the 6 of us. They are great. No, absolutely. I am glad that they ended up giving the Marauders that to Harry, since I think it is rightfully his. But the trouble they got into while they still had him in their possession, I adore. So yes, I think Fred and George are great. Often when they are over, we have conversations about all the different pranks we've pulled, all the different rules we've broken. Oh yes, I love them. They're great. Do you like Harry's friends? I like them for the most part. Some of them more than others. Ronald I have no problem with. He seems fine. We get along quite well, actually, and he seems to mean a lot to Harry. Hermione, on the other hand, well, Hermione liked spreading a little rumor to Harry that I was crazy, and that I couldn't separate the past from the present, and all this other kind of thing. So, I'm not too pleased with her at the moment. Her and Molly make quite the little team of gossipers, so Hermione's not on the best terms with me right now. We'll see if that gets any better. But Ron I like, and most of his other little friends are just fine. But I'm not really interested in spending time with them as so much I want to spend time with Harry, so they're fine. How was it seeing Remus again for the first time after getting out? It was strange. Great, but very strange. I hadn't seen him in 12 years, and he looked very different. I guess you never think about what your friends are going to look like when they're older, and just seeing it was very startling. I guess parts of me had hoped that it would just be the same, that I would see him again and he would see me again and run into each other's arms and embrace, and it would be great, and we did. We did do that, but it wasn't quite the same. So, I guess the answer is a little bit startling, a little bit relieving, and a little bit worrisome, I suppose, are the emotions that I was feeling at the time. I'm glad to have him back now, though. Even if it's different, I desperately missed him. What kind of food did they serve at Azkaban? What kind of food? I wouldn't call it food. Definitely not food. I think gruel would be the more appropriate term, just kind of like lumpy nonsense smushed together, then put in a bowl. Yeah, it was not good. After a while you kind of get used to it and you look forward to the days where the gruel is a little bit better than the others. But yeah, no, it was quite bad, and if you want to stay sane while eating that garbage, you just kind of have to imagine it's something else, so that is what I did. Although I will say, still not as bad as my mother's cooking, so it was a little bit easier to bear, knowing that it was better than that. What is one thing you miss, would want to change, or want to bring back from before you were in Azkaban? Well, there's a lot of answers I give to these questions, and most of them are depressing. And I feel like I've been answering a lot of depressing questions, so let's have a fun answer. Let's change it up a little bit, why don't we? I want my bike. I miss my bike. I just really do. I lent it to Hagrid on the night that everything happened, so that he could take Harry to safety, and I haven't seen it since. I know Hagrid still has it, and he's taking good care of it, but if I could get one thing back from before I went to Azkaban, it would definitely be my bike. I would give anything to be able to ride it around right now. Get out of the house, feel the breeze, even take Harry on it. I think he'd like it. But yes, that would be the one thing I would like back. How did you handle your hair in prison? Oh, there was no handling it. There was nothing I could do. I handled it by not looking at it. They didn't have any brushes, hair products, anything like that in Azkaban, so my hair got pretty disgusting. I would say. Luckily, they only take pictures of you when you first arrive in Azkaban, so my hair looked quite okay in my mugshot. And then after that, there's no evidence remaining of what it looked like when I was in there. I'm very, very embarrassed by it, and if any pictures do surface of my time in Azkaban, I will have them promptly burnt, because nobody needs to see me like that. Did you know Moony saw Snivellis dressed in Neville's grandma's clothes? I did hear about this. Harry told me about it, and not Remus, which I thought was kind of ridiculous. Yes, the second I found out about this, I pressed Moony for details. I almost demanded that he get a pensieve to pull the memory out of his head so that I could watch it firsthand, but he refused. But I might have dropped that little bit of information the next time I saw Snivellis around the house, and he wasn't very happy about it. But I will lord that over his head for the rest of my life. Believe that. I only wish I had gone to see it in person, but it feels like such good justice. What would you say to Lily and James if they were still here? I would say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry things turned out this way. But I would also say, I would tell them, Harry is such a good boy. He turned out great. He's great. We don't need to worry about him. He's going to be okay. He's brave. He's smart. He's strong. He's going to do great things. That's what I would tell him. How do you think Harry's life would have turned out if you and Remus had raised him? Much better, I believe. He'd be better at pranks for one thing. I mean, Harry tries. He really does. But they don't really come across with the same impact as they did when James and I were doing them. He would probably be smarter because Remus would have been much more strict about him studying and learning everything about the Wizarding World. He probably would have been cooler because he would have been raised by me, and then obviously he would have been much, much, much cooler. He would have dressed better because, frankly, I love Harry, but the way he dresses is kind of pathetic. So, all of those things and probably more. Overall, it would have been much better, but, you know, I suppose fate and Dumbledore had other plans. What do you think of Tonks? I like Tonks. She's got a lot of spunk. She's got a lot of personality. She's really fun. She's good with the children. Yeah, I think she's great. Young. I mean, pretty young. But, she reminds me a lot of me, actually, when I first joined the Order. All that fire and that passion and that drive to just, you know, defeat the dark arts and win and all that kind of stuff. So, her and I get along pretty well, actually. We talk a lot. She shows me all her metamorphagus sort of things. And I think it's great, yeah. I like Tonks. She's a great person. We need more of those nowadays. Why do you think Peter was a Gryffindor? I don't know. I know people, again, ask me, how could he be a Gryffindor if he did all of this, but when Pete was in school, I mean, he was a Gryffindor. He was brave in his own way. He was loyal. Back then, at least. Chivalrous. All of the things you'd think of when it comes to being a Gryffindor, he was those. I guess just sometimes fear wins out over bravery, or whatever his reasoning was. I still think he was a Gryffindor. Just not all of them can turn out the way you would hope. And it seems that is all the questions. We managed to kill about an hour or so, I suppose. Time to go back to pacing around the house and thinking about better days. But anyway, I hope whoever asked these questions enjoyed my answers, and maybe Harry will bring me some more sometime to keep me distracted. So, I guess I will see you all next time. Goodbye.